good evening, good night, wherever you are actually watching from. And before we begin, I just want to mention it always surprises me when I'm waiting to start these lives and I see there's actually people waiting. Because I remember being on the other end of this and, waiting for live conferences or stuff like that. And, I'm not used to the one being here and having people wait for me. It's a strange feeling. I still haven't gotten used to it. So, anyway, I just want to thank you for that. And if you're new, if this is your first time attending a live, just want to briefly explain how it works. So I like to start with kind of a, quick introduction, a summary of the last month, the last 15 months, kind of to celebrate the fact that I'm still alive. Today, that part will be slightly different. We'll get to that soon. And then after that, it's more like a Q&A session. Feel free to post your questions whenever you want. I'm just going to go through the comments once I'm done that first part and answer all the questions. And then once we get to the end of that, it's going to be the end of the live. So if you have some questions you want to ask, preferably don't wait till the very end to ask it. Just ask it whenever, and when I get to it, I'll answer it. So the reason why I said that today the first part is going to be slightly different is because today is an unusual day. Usually, when I get to these milestones, there's always this sense of gratitude of still being alive, of everything I've been through, everything I've experienced, all the people who have, showed support and love and been there for me throughout the last 15 months at this point. But today I'm just really not in that mood. It's not like I'm sad or angry or upset. In fact, I'm nothing today. It just feels like someone reached in and removed all the positive emotions such as, joy and happiness and gratefulness and all those things, as well as all the negative ones. So, anger, sadness, whatever. And it just feels empty inside. And it's like, I think it's just a result of, it's been 15 months that I've been struggling, literally fighting for my life, and it just never ends. And there's ups and there's downs. And, this morning, as an example, like I go for a walk, like I do pretty much every morning, and it's just really cold, and I'm not dressed well enough because I didn't realize it was that cold, and it's windy, and I'm just not enjoying it. I'm walking, it's really cold, I'm shivering. My wife is sending me messages, and every time I have to take my phone out to respond, my hands get super cold, and I start shivering, and I'm just like, the entire thing sucked. It was like an hour and 20 minutes by the time I got home. It wasn't that bad. It did start raining at the end, which kind of sucked a bit. But it's things that happen. It's part of life. And I've accepted that. It's just, I don't know, today is just one of those days where you kind of, it's not really, that's the thing. It's not a struggle. It's not like things suck. It's just like, you know? Which is ironic given the fact that, it's the 15-month Cancerversary, as I like to call it. And for me, that's always a cause for celebration, and it just feels strange to not feel that right now. So, plus, like, I'll be honest, I was dreading the live. I know when I'm doing it, I always enjoy it, it's always fun. But just given the type of day I'm having, I'm just like, I really don't feel like doing this. But I am glad I'm here, and now that it started, I am enjoying it, and I'm glad I'll be able to answer all your questions. It's just not the typical, sorry, not the typical, celebration I like to do, and I don't feel like I'm in my normal positive self. So, I just want to apologize for that, but I do want to take the time to say, thank you to everyone who's here, who watches my videos, who's going to watch the replay. By the way, quick note on that. If you watch the replay, feel free to post questions because I know not everyone's able to attend live if you're in different time zones or countries or, literally halfway across the world. So what I like to do is on these live, just post, questions. And if if you can't be here live, just post a question. And then 3 days from now, I come back and read all the comments and respond to them. That way, if you're not able to attend, you can still ask your question and I'll be able to answer it. So anyway, now that we're done with that, just wanted to continue what I was saying. So I'm just, I'm very grateful for everyone who watches, who supports me, who encourages me, who leaves positive comments, even though, it's not like it used to be. I'm not able to read and respond to everything like I used to, and it's not the same, but I still really do appreciate it. And I do, you know, I do hope that me sharing my story, the ups, the downs, can, help inspire some people, maybe motivate them, motivate, other people who are around them, try to understand what they're going through, or, maybe just entertain some people. That's okay too. I'm very okay with that. So I just want to take the time to thank you. So even though I'm not in the, best of moods or mindsets today, I just want to take the time to do that because I feel like it's very important. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So thank you very much. I think that pretty much sums up the first part. So I'm going to start reading comments and responding to any questions that you have. So if you have anything, feel free to post them. And by the way, I'm not going to be looking at the camera. Obviously, I'll be reading the comments. So it's normal if it seems like I'm not looking at you. All right, let's go to the comments and see. Where did I meet my wife? 2 years ago when I was traveling, the last country I went to was Nicaragua, and that's where I met her. That's where I fell in love. It took her a little more time than me, but still, we got there. And that's still where she is right now, waiting for things to open up on the immigration front. It's always complicated and frustrating. It takes a very long time, but everything's gonna happen the way it's meant to happen. Yep, so I already responded to that. Yep, definitely not what I wanted, long-term relationship or long-distance relationship. But life is what life is. Sometimes you can't control it. It's not something I would have chosen if I knew that's what it would end up being. But obviously, I have no regrets. I'm very happy, and I do know and believe that we are going to be together, hopefully soon. But we can't really control that. So definitely not ideal being 6,000 kilometers apart, but it is a part of life. In a way, it is kind of better because, especially the last 4 months have been very intense. And I know it would have been much more difficult for my wife if she was here witnessing this because, there was a lot of time during the last 4 months where we weren't able to speak as much. And even on days where we can speak more, it's just maybe like a couple hours per day where we're video chatting, which is much, much different than living together 24/7. And if she was here during those 4 months when I was really struggling, I know it would have been more difficult for her, like seeing me throw up and coughing a lot and having trouble breathing at night and having to prop myself up with a bunch of pillows and, being winded just walking to the kitchen, things like that. Like I know it would have been very difficult for her. So even though this situation is not ideal, in a way, I am grateful for it because it did, make things somewhat easier for her. Pastor. Not quite sure I understand the question. Pastor, why aren't you in a church? Because I'm not religious. I'm not quite sure what you're asking, so if you want to repost a question with a little more context, I'll be able to answer it. No, I've never tried hypnotism. I've been open to the idea. It just, never seemed like a good fit. But, if ever at some point there's an opportunity for that, sure, I'm open to the concept. Could be fun. Salute me. All right, salute to you. I don't know if it was technically like a salute, like military salute, or just like, French salute, like salut. But either way, I'll take it. Thank you. Hi to you too. uh, could you open the substate? I'm assuming that's a typo function. Subtitle function, maybe? I'll be honest, I'm still not very familiar with YouTube Live, so I'm not quite sure how that works. So unfortunately, I don't want to try messing with anything while I'm live and potentially do something I should not do. So assuming you're talking about the subtitle function, I'm not really sure how that works when it comes to live, so sorry about that. Ah, well, thanks. That's nice. Someone says they follow because it makes them realize we should not take every day for granted. That is very, very true. And that's kind of the beauty of what I'm going through. Yes, there are days that suck, But even days like today where it's like it doesn't suck, it's not great, it's just I feel like empty, but it's like I know it's gonna pass. And I know things are gonna get better. And it just reminds you that, it's part of life. There are ups, there are downs, and yes, it does make you grateful for every moment that you have, even though not every moment is necessarily pleasant while you're living it. But every moment does have value. Ooh, from the Netherlands, nice. Yes, I have tried alternative therapies, a couple of different ones at this point, and the biggest struggle with that, I would say, would be deciding which ones to do. Because in the beginning, my mindset was I'm going to leave no stone unturned. I'm going to do every single alternative medicine that I can come across. I'm going to do it all. I'm not going to give up until I find something that works. But as people started making more and more and more suggestions, you quickly realize, okay, first of all, there's no way that I can do this. One, I don't have the time. Two, I don't have the money. And three, a lot of the alternative therapies contradict each other. So, as a random example, some people are like, you should eat only meat, the carnivore diet, that's what, is going to help you. And then other people is like, you should eliminate, everything and eat only fruits and vegetables. So it's like completely different. And obviously I can't do both because, I can't eat meat and eat vegetables at the same time, like exclusively. That's not how it works. So I quickly realized when it comes to alternative therapies, you really need to do what's right. You need to learn to listen to yourself, to your gut, and do what feels right to you, not just do something because you're like, I'm desperate, I'm going to do anything. So, yeah, I've tried a couple different ones for different periods of time for as long as it felt right, and I don't regret doing any of them. But more and more, I realize like when it comes down to it, I think it's going to be more the power of belief. That's going to make the biggest difference. And when I say that, I'm not speaking about, God or religion. Like personally, I'm not religious, but my wife is, so I'm open to the concept. So it's like whatever you choose to believe, but like I believe that I'm going to find a cure. I believe that I will survive, that I'm gonna be okay, that I'm gonna live to be, well, hopefully 100. That's always kind of the number I had in my head. So, it's that belief in yourself. And that's kind of one of the greatest lessons that I learned throughout all this. It's just in order to survive something as extreme as this, you need to become so convinced that you will survive no matter what anybody says. No matter what the doctors say, no matter what your friends and family and wife, like it doesn't matter what anybody says. All that matters is what you believe. And at the end of the day, even if you're like me and you're in a situation like this and you believe you're going to be fine, you end up being wrong and you end up dying, I much prefer living this last phase of my life, if that's what it's meant to be, believing that and doing everything I can to survive and enjoy life and be grateful and make the most of it, than just giving up and dying. The end result's going to be the same, but at least I'm going to enjoy it more and not get to my deathbed and wonder, well, is there anything else I could have done? So yes, I've tried a few different alternative medicines. I could have tried more. I will probably try more in the future. But I think it really comes down to believing in yourself, whatever it is you choose to believe. Um, Hi from West Virginia. Well, hello back from Montreal. It always feels, well, thank you. Someone said, very nice to see you live, feels special. I'm obviously a fan. It always feels weird to me. Like the term fan has always seemed weird to me, especially when someone says that to me. Because I'm just like, I'm just some random person sharing my story online. And it's like, I'm no different than any other person out there. And I've always kind of had that perspective when it comes to, celebrities like famous singers or famous actors or whatever. Like, I've never really met anyone famous, but to me, like, it doesn't really seem like a big deal. But that term fan just always seems like strange to me as a result of that. Like, I know everyone's definition of it is different, but to me, it always seems strange, especially when you're on the receiving end of that. Like, I appreciate it, I'm grateful. It's just, it feels weird to be like, to think, like, wait, I have fans? Okay, that's interesting. How's my appetite been lately? Well, much, much better. I don't want to say very well because it's not back to normal yet, But for the last few weeks, it's been getting slowly and slowly better. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I was able to gain 2.2 pounds last time I went to the hospital and I was weighed, so that's definitely good. And now that I'm eating more, I'm hoping that we can slowly, inch our way back up, and that's definitely going to help. I'd say the biggest factor in that is the fact that I started walking. Just the fact that I'm walking is, tiring my body more, so it gets more hungry, it becomes easier to eat. I don't have to force myself to eat most of the time now. Like, I still don't have that hunger. Like, I'm not hungry. Sometimes I will feel my body, like, physically, like, telling me, okay, I need food, I'm hungry, but I don't sense that hunger. I won't salivate, I won't fantasize about food. But, when I do eat, most of the time I'm able to enjoy it. It's only sometimes near the end of the meal I kind of have to force myself a bit to finish, but overall doing much, much better. And at this point, it's been a week, maybe a week and a half, I don't know exactly, but it's been a while since I've last thrown up. So things are going very well on that front, and I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, so second part of that, yes, I can manage to eat food on a daily basis. Um, oh, love from Italy, nice. Thank you from Canada. Ah, someone from Virginia, nice. I definitely recognize the name. That's the thing. When I do lives, and I used to read like every single comment before it just kind of became too much for me to handle. And it's fun to be able to do live and recognize names. Like I don't recognize people's faces because I've never met you, but it's definitely nice to, see a familiar name. Even though it is like, a YouTube name, it's not your real name, it's still nice to see. Uh, no, I'm not vegan, but I am vegetarian. And the joke I like to make is it's not my fault, it's my parents' fault because that's how they raised me. To be honest, like if I like meat, I would eat meat. I have nothing against meat. It's just, I was raised not eating meat. A couple of times I tried it, I didn't enjoy it. To me, like, I don't know, there's just this trigger effect of every time I've tried meat, it just reminds me, like it makes me think of the animal and it just grosses me out. To me, it's like if I'm eating something like a burger or whatever, and it's like I'm just gonna picture the cow like dead, and to me, it's the equivalent of eating roadkill. Like it just grosses me out. So it's like I have no judgment. It's not an ethical thing. It's just how I was raised, and unfortunately, I just don't like the taste of meat. So that's just, like I said, it's my parents' fault. From Indianapolis, Indiana. Nice. Nice to see you. Um, so from November when you first got back to Canada uh, to May when you got diagnosed, it's 6 or 7 months. Why so long? No, it's not something. The reason why I came back initially, so just kind of briefly give the backstory. 2 years ago, I was traveling when I went met my wife. Literally like a month and a half after I met my wife, we discovered a lump on one of my testicles. So I went to get tested or have a scan and everything done by a local doctor. He's like, we don't know for sure what it is, but there's a chance it could be cancer. My recommendation is go home as quickly as you can and get it checked out to be safe. So that's what I did. Went home like within the next week, got tested. Everything turned out to be fine. But, because I was back, I'm like, okay, let's plan for the long term. So I'm going to get a remote job that I can do from outside Canada, go back, live with my life, get an apartment, start building our life together, begin the immigration process so that a few years down the line, we can come back here and live together in Canada. And during that time, I don't have to worry about money. That was the plan. So those 6, 7 months had nothing to do with the cancer itself. It had to do with the fact that I was looking for a job. And once the cancer was diagnosed, which had nothing to do with the initial reason for me to coming back to Canada, um, that's when it's like, well, now I'm stuck here. I need to do immunotherapy every 3 weeks. I can't leave the country. So I just accepted a job that they offered me that I had applied for. And I was hoping I could do from outside of Canada, but turns out I couldn't. So I was going to deny or decline it. And then a couple of days after, I found out, crap, I have cancer. I'm stuck here. Let's accept the job. So that's kind of the timeline of what happened. So they didn't miss anything. It was just like two separate, completely unrelated events. Ah, okay. So the explanation for the pastor thing before, they were referring to a viewer named Pastor. Okay, cool. I guess I missed the name there. That does make sense because I was very confused. I'm like, who's talking about a pastor? uh, Sorry, I never know if I should read the comments out loud or just respond out loud. So anyway, do my best. Let me know in the comments if you think I should just read the comments out loud if that's easier for you guys. And by the way, I see people have donated, so thank you. I very much appreciate it. Even though I am lucky that my employment insurance has been accepted and that's going to make life much easier for the next 6 months, money's always kind of a source of concern, not just in this situation, but in life in general, but specifically in this situation when, you can't work. So it's like, most people it's like, oh, okay, I'm temporarily out of work. Worst case scenario, I just go back to work. Given my health condition, it would be very difficult to find a job that I could actually do, and it would probably not be good for my health. So even though like it doesn't stress me out, it doesn't cause me like daily stress, it is definitely a concern. So I do appreciate every time someone donates. So thank you very much for that. Well, apparently I look great today, so thank you. Also, I find it funny how a lot of people, especially English speakers, because my name is French, they don't know how to pronounce or, a lot of times write my name because it's a very, like the spelling of my name is very French. Like it's not typical to English the way you spell it. So a lot of people in English just call me G, and I find it funny how like that's a recurring theme. It's like, one of my best friends lives in Malaysia. She calls me that. People from different countries just call me that. And it's just like their default kind of that's what they call me when they don't know how to pronounce or write my name. And I don't know, I find it amusing. Could definitely, I mean, there's worse things than being a G. Could be a D. That's in general worse, I would say. Uh, all right, well, apparently I look great today. Good to know. Yes, I do speak Spanish. I wouldn't consider myself fluent yet. I'm still learning. And at this point, I would say I understand like 90 to 95% of what people say when they speak Spanish. It's just I don't have the vocabulary enough to be able to speak fluently. So it's like, yes, I can make sentences that make sense. Most people understand me, but sometimes like I mess up sorry, I mess up like masculine and feminine of certain words, or I'm going to use like the wrong past tense. So it's like when speaking in present tense directly to a person, I don't really have any issues. When I have to speak in the past tense or the future tense, that's a little more tricky for me. So I would say at this point, I'm like two and a half lingual. So it's like I'm not trilingual, but I'm on my way there. And obviously, once I get to finally live with my wife 24/7, that's definitely going to help a lot. So, yes, I do speak Spanish, just not as perfectly as I do English or French. Okay, apparently I'm a brave soul. Thank you very much. I don't know, because they said it must be difficult living your life. Power to me. Life is tough. They've been feeling poorly for a while. I'm sorry to hear that. How do you keep your faith in life? I don't know. It's so many different things and it evolves over time. First of all, I've always been very stubborn. So if someone tells me something and if I don't agree with it, I'm like, yeah, screw you. I'm going to do my thing. So it's like, I don't care that the doctor says, like, oh, well, it's an incurable form of cancer. You're eventually going to die from this. And, a couple of times they gave me like specific dates to, well, it's not to look forward to, more like to not look forward to, if you will. And every time something like that happens, to me, it just motivates me more because I've trained myself and conditioned myself to, strive in uncomfortable situations and to, instead of letting bad news, bad things, difficult situations bring me down, I've trained myself to use that and like, use it as fuel, as motivation, as power. So that's kind of always been my approach. There is to some degree a certain denial in that. And I don't mean that in the sense of like I'm living in denial, like I'm just not accepting the truth. It's like, no, I accept their truth. I respect what they're saying, what they believe. Now I'm choosing to believe what makes the most sense for me, will maximize my odds of survival, whether that ends up being true or not. And I know to some degree, yeah, that is, living in delusion, denial, which is fine. Sometimes that can be a good thing. So that's kind of the approach I've taken on that so far. Ah, shalom, nice. Sending love and strength from Israel. Thank you, I appreciate that. Um, oh, recently wrote a piece for the Times of Israel. Nice, congratulations. About grief as a healing tool. Ah, that's intriguing. I like the sound of that. Kind of like, it reminds me of my whole like falling in love with fear thing. So I like statements or like titles like that don't really make sense, but also kind of like intrigue you and pull you in. So I'm kind of curious as to, you know, how you would use grief as a healing tool. If you want to kind of like, explain that a bit more in the comments, I'm definitely curious about that. Something many of us here know well. Yep. Google sneer Levi. Okay, I definitely will. Okay, I guess that's kind of going to answer the question that I just asked. So never mind, you don't have to respond in the comments. I'll be able to do the research after. All good. Cool. And by the way, if other people want to check it out, so he says Google sneer Levi, so SNIRLEVI, when collective grief ignites personal healing, Times of Israel. So if you're curious, like kind of like I was, and you want to check it out, you can use that information. How do I lift up my mood when I'm frustrated because of the cancer and the side effects of treatment? I never try to force anything. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'm not going to try to make myself feel better. I used to try to do that in the past, and in my experience, it never really works. The best technique, at least for me, has been to just experience whatever I'm experiencing to the deepest and fullest extent that I can. And that allows me to process what I need to process, release what I need to release, and then eventually things are going to go back to normal. So, if I'm feeling sad, instead of, try to make myself feel better, try to be happy, I'm going to embrace that sadness. I'm going to listen to sad songs and I'm going to cry and process whatever I need to. So then, once I'm done doing that, I can go back and be, myself again. So that's kind of always been my approach because I know from past experience that trying to suppress emotions or ignore them is never a good idea. It never ends well. So yeah, that's kind of how I deal with it. Ah, ciao. So I'm assuming from Italy. Do which feels right. Yep. You know your own body. Well, hopefully I do. I feel like I've gotten to know it pretty well at this point, but sometimes like my wife says something and I'm like, no, that's not how I feel. And then after a while, I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe she was right. So, yes, I do know my own body to a certain degree, but sometimes there are certain things we're blind to. So it's always nice to have another perspective too. Power of mind over matter, absolutely. Yep, from Italy again. Hello once again. Um, unequally yoked with his wife. As okay, I have no idea what this says. Sorry, I'm trying to read it and my brain is just not comprehending it. So sorry. Um, eh, I respect that. Like when you find Christ, you win the lottery. I respect your beliefs. I've never found the need for religion. And, maybe I will one day, maybe I won't. I don't know. Whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. And I don't want to force it either way. So, like, I'm open to whatever. And it's just that's always been my approach. And that's always how I like to be treated. It's like, don't try to convince me of what you believe. I won't try to convince you of what I believe. I might share what I believe, but not in a way to try to convert you or anything like that. And I just expect the same in return. And, most people are fine with that. Just some people sometimes like feel a need to try to save other people by convincing them that their beliefs are better than others. Just to be clear, that's not what I think you were doing with that comment. It's just, something that's come up a lot, especially online. There's a lot of people, especially religious people, who try to convince you that, you need to embrace whatever religion is and that will save you. So it's like, I respect their beliefs, but please respect mine. That's all. Um, why don't you ponder upon if there's a creator of the universe, which I believe there is? Well, we were just talking about that. So to me, what I believe is, what I like to refer to as a universe, which is basically everything, everyone, a force that controls everything. So it's like you could very easily substitute it with the term God, and the definition would remain very similar. What I don't like about, God and anything to do with religion is everything that comes attached with that baggage, the obligations that usually come with it. So to me, plus, there's a lot of people, especially atheists or anyone who's from a different religion who uses different terms. Anytime you use a term like God, they have a reaction to that. And for me, I just, I never felt the need to use that term. And I don't know if I will in the future, but, that's the thing. It's like some people, my mother as an example, always needs to figure things out, to find the answer. To me, it's like, whether there is a God or there isn't, whether there's a heaven or there isn't, what happens after you die, I don't know. I'll find out whenever it happens. I don't need to try to figure it out before because one, I can never be sure if I'm right or not. And two, I'm going to find out either way once I die. I prefer enjoying life while I'm alive and being surprised by whatever comes next once it happens. That's just kind of my approach. I'm not saved, I'm lost. Okay, depending on how you look at it. Well, it seems to be a lot of people from Italy today. Nice. Another religious quote. Um, nice. Usually it's the Bible, the Quran. I don't get suggested that very often. I mean, it may be a book of your truth, no disrespect to you or your beliefs, just like the Bible. I started reading it, didn't really feel appropriate for me, so I didn't feel the need to finish it. Quran, I've never really been attracted to that. But, if ever it feels right, I'm definitely open to the idea. I have, you know, no judgment regarding any type of religion. So, yeah, if ever it seems right, I'll definitely look into it. Oh, sorry. Long press instead of scrolled. Yep, we're such a speck of dirt in the universe. Yeah, and that's it. Like that's that's the thing. That approach of like it doesn't matter who you are or what you do in the grand scheme of things, none of it matters. Some people think that and they're like, well, what's the point of doing anything? And they just get depressed and they're like, well, I'm not going to try to accomplish anything with my life because it's all meaningless anyway. I kind of believe the same thing. Then in the grand scheme of things, like, a million years from now, no one's going to know who I am. No one's going to know I existed. There's going to be no trace of me left. But that kind of gives you a certain freedom of, because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. Why not have the most awesome life that you can while you are here? Try to impact as many people as you can while you are here so you do have that impact. So your life does matter while you're living it, even if down the line it won't matter, no one's ever going to remember you. That's always been kind of my approach. So for every situation, there's always two, well, usually more than two ways of looking at the situation. It just comes down to what you choose to believe, how you choose to look at it. So yeah, I do agree with you. I just may have a slightly different perception than a lot of people who say stuff like that in general. I don't know what yours is specifically, but in general, when people say stuff like that, it's more from their perspective of like, what's the point of doing anything? I hope you're able to see your wife too soon. Yes, me too, definitely. It's definitely something that like that would be the biggest thing right now in my life aside from getting the news like, hey, you're completely cured, which yes, I do believe will happen one day, but I also believe it's probably going to take some time to get to that point. So realistically, the biggest news that I could get near like in the near future would be like, hey, things opened up, you're going to be able to be with your wife soon. Like That would be like the greatest news that I can get anytime soon. And I'm really, really looking forward to that moment. Ah, Battlefriend. I like that. I like terms like that that kind of like pop. It's always fun. All right, so apparently someone's done with this dark channel. Didn't realize I was being dark, but okay. Enjoy lighter channels. Someone saying, so I'm assuming it's the same person who left the comment before regarding the hypnotism, saying you should have a hypnosis session over Zoom. Entertainment hypnosis. Hmm. Inter. I'm not quite sure what that means. What's an entertainment hypnotist? Because when I think entertainment, I think like, videos, movies, music, TV series, stuff like that. So I'm not quite sure what that means exactly, but very curious. Hmm. I like this. There's a lot of comments that kind of make me curious today. It's fun. Oh, okay. That kind of, I just read the second part of the comment. Never mind. Can make you cluck like a chicken. Good luck with that. I do believe in hypnosis, but I believe you need to believe in it in order for it to work. So, if it comes to doing hypnosis for health reasons or to quit smoking or things like that, that's things you actually want to do. Yeah, I believe in it, but you forcing me to cluck, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. Hey, congratulations, someone who's a stage 4 survivor. What they think saved their life was stopping all carbs slash sugars. Um, so they asked, do I eat sugars even if it's fruit? Yes, but there was a period where I did stop completely everything, and it just got to the point where it didn't feel right anymore. Because I've always loved fruits and vegetables as well, of course. And it's just having that very restrictive diet was just making me miserable. And I'm like, there is no point in me going through this and being miserable every second of every day and forcing myself to eat and not enjoy every single meal if it's just going to buy me a little more time. Like, yes, I do agree that certain things, and removing sugar has been mentioned by multiple different people, is a way to get rid of cancer. But I do believe, like, my approach has always been, let's figure out the root cause, what caused this cancer, and fix it at its root so we can not only fix it but keep it from coming back. Because if you just fix the problem, then it goes away, but eventually it comes back unless you found the initial source of it, what caused it, and got rid of that. So it's like, yes, I do believe that sugar could be one of the ways to get rid of cancer, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like, what's the point of doing that without going and finding that root cause and eliminating that? So that's kind of always been my approach. So right now it's less about, well, especially the last couple months, it's been more about what can my body handle, not what is good for me, food wise. Because, there was I think around a month where I just kept throwing up. My body couldn't keep anything down. I was barely able to eat. I lost like 30 pounds. And it's like, yeah, okay, I don't care if I eat sugar. I don't care what I eat as long as my body can handle it. And now that I'm getting better, I'm slowly going out of that and can start shifting a little more to having a more healthy diet and maybe focusing a little more on that. But lately, it's just been like, let's get as much food in my body as possible and let's maximize what it can handle. Hey, from France, nice. Bonjour. With my Quebec accent. uh, all right, same comment as before about the Quran. All right, he really wants me to read the Quran because he keeps posting that comment. I appreciate it, but the more you try to convince me to do something, the less it makes me want to do it. So I appreciate the thought behind the comments, but there's no point in you leaving that comment over and over again. It's just going to have the reverse effect. All right, so let me scroll past all those Quran comments. Stop trolling. Yep. Ah, you know, we're online. There's always going to be people like that. Yes. So someone's asking me if I got the COVID vaccine. I've never been vaccinated in my life, aside from 2 years ago when I wanted to travel, and you had to be vaccinated to be allowed to travel back then. So I got two COVID shots for that. That was the, maximum requirement or minimum requirement. I never got any that I didn't have to. Haven't gotten any since then. Don't plan on getting any, whether it's COVID or something different. I believe in my body's ability to take care of itself, to heal itself. And I know a lot of people are like, COVID is what's causing all these diseases and cancer and everything. I don't believe that, especially since the, in my case at least, since the cancer started way before the I got vaccinated, even though it wasn't diagnosed until after, it's definitely not what caused it. So anyway, yes, to answer your question, yes, I was vaccinated, but I don't believe that is what caused it. Yes, Karan, I know. Uh, I already did address that multiple times, so please stop with your Karan comments. Thank you very much. Yep, we need a moderator. Uh, I don't know if I'm able to kind of block someone from the comments while I'm doing a live. That's the thing. Like, I haven't done enough lives to be very familiar with it. But, it's online. There's always going to be people like that. So, let's just make the most of it. Um, yeah, someone else was wondering about the vaccine. uh, so apparently someone from Hong Kong donated, but I don't know because they donate in Hong Kong. Uh, is it dollars, yen that they have over there? I don't know. So I don't know how much that converts to, but thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice to see like different people from across the world, different currencies, different, opinions and viewpoints and everything. It's always cool to see that. Yep, Amar's like, I'm not a bot. No, you're just annoying everybody. But you're not a bot. Congratulations on being a real annoying human being. In general, it's hard when people project their religious beliefs during such a personal, difficult journey, especially when it's unsolicited. That's the thing. Like I always try to treat other people with respect, their beliefs with respect. What I don't like is when they try to push their beliefs onto me and convince me that they're right and I'm wrong. I experienced that not when it comes to religion or anything like that, but just like that type of personality from my mother for most of my life. That's the main reason why I ended the relationship with her because she was always trying to convince me that she's right, that she has the answer, that I'm wrong. And there's always this underlying, like, I don't want to say, like, because it's not really aggressive. It's more like you can just share your opinion once. You don't need to repeat it over and over again and imply that I'm wrong all the time. That's always been kind of my approach. So I try to be respectful of others. And yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like human nature to, by default, when someone tries to convince you of something, your default reaction is to not believe them, to kind of like fight against that. So it's just, I find it ironic in a way when people try to do that, just because it's like you realize that the more you insist, the more you try to convince someone, the lower the odds that you will succeed get. So it's like you're just working against yourself. If you want to try to save people, sure, speak about your opinions. Just don't try to convince other people. That's all. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, everyone means well, exactly, That's the thing. Ah, man, Amar just won't give up. Yes, you did catch me live. Congratulations. Glad you're here. Thank you. What's my prognosis? Um, I mean, the original prognosis they gave me, I guess, would still apply right now. So, in the beginning, when I was diagnosed, what they said is super rare form of cancer. There is no cure. There's only one treatment, which is immunotherapy, which I've been doing on and off simply because when I did radiotherapy, and I had to take medications to reduce the swelling as a result of that, I couldn't do immunotherapy during that period because it would cancel out the effect, so there was no point in doing it. But I've been doing that pretty much relatively consistently for the last 15 months. So from the doctor's perspective, the prognosis is you will eventually die from this. From my perspective is, okay, cool. I respect your opinion. I understand you're a doctor, that is your job, and you're using past experience with past patients and data and all the information you have available to make an educated assumption and to share that with me. And it's your job to do everything that you can to help me stay alive for as long as possible. But I choose to believe that I will be okay. I choose to believe that somehow I will survive. And, there's kind of a certain degree of motivation that comes in that, as I mentioned before. Like, we've been talking about religion and people trying to convince us and stuff like that. And it's like, the more someone tries to convince you of something, your instinct is going to be to rebel against that. So it's like the more the doctors tell me, like, oh, things are getting worse, or you have X amount of time to live, or, insert whatever you want there, my reaction is always like, all right, cool, I'm going to prove you wrong. Not like in a stubborn manner, just like, I respect your opinion, I just don't believe it. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people in our society in general. Most people, when doctors tell them something, they take it as truth. They don't question it. And yes, that can be good. Obviously, doctors are there to help you to save your life. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you to choose what you want to believe and what you want to do. Most people, it's like the doctor's like, all right, you have this type of cancer, the treatment is chemotherapy, these amount of sessions over this period of time, we're starting this date, and most people don't question it. They're just like, yeah, okay, cool. It's like, no, I want to learn the information. What are the different options? What are the advantages, disadvantages of each? What are the odds of each of one working? What are the impacts on my life? And then, I like to kind of sit back, take a time to process everything and figure out what feels right to me, and that's what I'm going to do. So I am grateful for the doctors and their opinions and their help and everything and everyone I've encountered so far. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to do what feels right to me. So yeah, that was a long answer for what my prognosis is, and hopefully that answered it. All right, let me just try to see. Uh, there we go. All right, so I've blocked Amar. Sorry, I didn't do it before. I just figured he'd eventually give up, but apparently not. So yeah, at least now he'll stop bugging us by posting the same comment over and over again. All right, so moving on. Yo, what's up, my homie G? Like it? Oh, no, I don't like it. I love it. It's funny. Because I used to be a wankster when I was young, and for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a wannabe gangster, or a white gangster. Once again, wannabe gangster. So I used to dress like, in baggy clothes with like, the Fat Farm shoes and the cap and the chains and the rings and everything, and listen to rap music and stuff. I still enjoy rap, but I kind of grew out of that phase. So yeah, that just kind of brings me back to the good old days. Um, have I been in touch with other people battling the same disease? Yes. So I spoke to one woman's husband. She's the one with the cancer, but I spoke with him, not directly to her. And I also spoke to another person. She's a doctor. She has a YouTube channel as well. And she has the same kind of cancer that I've had. And she's had it for the last 8 years. And, we do speak every once in a while. We had plans to do a live together at some point. Sorry, but things came up and we just ended up not being able to do it. So maybe one day. And it's definitely nice to talk with people. I always enjoy speaking with people, but I never really felt the need to connect with other people going through what I'm going through. And the reason for that is because to me, this is a challenge. To me, this is the most extreme challenge of my entire life. And I want to experience it to its fullest. To me, having the doctors tell me no one has ever survived stage 4 of this type of cancer motivates me way more because I'm like, I will be that first person in the entire world to do that. That motivates me so much more than knowing and talking with people who have survived it. So it's like if they told me, like, 5 people or 10 people or X amount of people survived stage 4 of this, most people would be like, cool, they did it. That means I can do it too. To me, it's the opposite. Being the only one, and well, from what the doctors told me, you never know for sure. But it's like until I have other provable data that tells me other people with stage 4 of this have survived and have been cured completely, not just, go in regression, but completely cured, I'm going to continue to believe that because that to me motivates me more. So I've never really felt the need for, necessarily connecting with other people regarding that. Like, yeah, it's nice to talk about stuff like that, but, it never felt like a need. Same for like support groups or Facebook groups or, any of those things. It's just like, I'm meant to experience this. Let's experience it. Let's not, dilute it by mixing it with other people's story. Everyone has their own story to experience, their own journey to go through. And, I'm living mine, you live yours, we can talk about it, everything's great. I don't need that support. I've always treated this as a challenge, as an opportunity to grow as a person. And as a result of that, even though most people, I think, in my situation would probably find it lonely the way I've chosen to approach it. But to me, it's like I know that's what's going to allow me to grow the most as a person. So that's what I've chosen to do. Another G, nice. Okay, so someone asked me to pronounce my name. Sure. So it's pronounced Guillaume. So it's French for William, and the way I like to explain it to people so they know how to pronounce it is I'm like, all right, ghee, like the extract you get from when you make butter, take that and then combine it with om. So like imagine me meditating. So like om, so ghee, om. And so you just like combine the two. So basically picture me meditating with a hunk of ghee on my head, and you should be able to remember how to pronounce my name. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, sorry about Amar. I didn't realize I could block him live like this. If I would have known, I would have done it way sooner. So sorry about that. But he has been blocked now. He won't keep bugging us with his comments. I haven't gone to the UK. In fact, I haven't gone to anywhere in Europe. I've only been to, well, obviously North America because I'm in Canada, South America, and Central America. There we go. Because like to me, I just think of it of like Latin America. So it's like which includes Central America and South America. So I haven't traveled that much. Like yes, I did travel for 10 months a couple of years ago, but I only did 4 different countries. I did Guatemala, Colombia, Costa Rica, and Nicaragua, and things kind of ended there with meeting my now wife, and then having to kind of come back to Canada and then kind of being stuck here ever since. So definitely want to travel more in the future, but for now, I haven't really had a chance to travel as much as I would like. So at this point, the countries I've done would be the 4 I just mentioned, as well as Brazil twice when I was young, and Canada, obviously. Ironically enough, I've never been to the US, even though it's right next door. But, that's the thing. It's like sometimes when something is so close and so accessible, you just don't do it. Kind of like, when you live in New York and like you've never been to the Empire State Building, or in my case, living in Montreal and never having gone to the Olympic Stadium, even though now I literally live a couple blocks away from it. Like I've never like ridden up it. I still want to do that. I still plan on doing it one day. It's just because it's so close, because it's so easy to do, a lot of times you just don't do it. So one day, yes, one day I plan on going to Europe and definitely UK. That's definitely a staple of Europe. uh, Man, it's first time there's someone like Amara that kind of spans a life. It's never happened to me before, but I guess there's a first time for everything. Good to see you too. Thank you very much. Hmm. Yes, I'm live and I'm alive, which are two very good things. Uh, um, have I gotten any better since the start? The start of what? So it depends on what you're referring to by the start. If you're referring to when I was diagnosed 15 months ago, yes and no. Like maybe 6 months ago, during that period of 2, 3 months where I was doing really good, like all the symptoms went away. I was feeling great. I was started running again, exercising again. Everything was great. Like that was the best period I've had. But then since then, I'd say the last 4 months have been really intense and difficult, and it is getting better, especially in the last few weeks, last couple of days. So I feel like soon it's going to go back to being normal and being in that really good place. But right now, as you can see, I still cough a little, and I do have breathing issues every once in a while. So it has gotten better, but that's the thing about stuff like that. Like there's always ups and downs and ups and downs. So now it's kind of like in an up period where things are getting better, but it's hard to compare from the very start if it got better or not. So, I've definitely learned a lot since then. I've grown a lot as a person, but it's hard to really judge if it's better or worse. It's just different. And I think that's kind of life in general. It doesn't necessarily get better or worse, it just gets different. Uh, yep, I already answered the COVID one, so I'll skip that. Someone just tuning in. Yes, I am doing good. I mean, aside from the whole, what I was describing in the beginning of the video, the whole like, I don't really feel anything, kind of like empty inside of like today is like a blah kind of day, but I know it'll pass and it's like I am feeling better. I always enjoy having lives and interacting with people, so that's definitely helping. So thank you. So, overall, it's a relatively good day. Not bad, not great, just somewhere in between. Uh, Huel. I'm not quite sure what Huel is, and I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it right. No, I have not tried eating that because, as I just mentioned, I don't know what it is. Makes it easier to plan the meals and have everything you need in a meal. Okay. Okay, so maybe it's like an app or something like that that helps you like plan meals and stuff like that in advance. The issue I've been kind of facing lately is for some reason, when I'm eating, most of the time I'm fine. I don't have the urge to throw up or anything like that. It's just a lot of the times when I'm cooking. Maybe it's the smell or whatever, I don't know exactly what, but it causes me to cough. And it usually gets kind of like to the point where it's uncontrollable and I like sometimes I almost throw up. So it's like those nowadays, that's kind of like the time where it's risky and sometimes I would throw up. I don't know why. It's very weird. So at this point, I just try to, cook bigger recipes so I don't have to cook as often and just eat the same thing for multiple meals. Or I try to eat something that's very quick to cook. That way it doesn't have time to kind of like trigger my body and cause me to cough and risk throwing up. So that's kind of been the issue at the moment. So I'm not sure if the planning meals would really help that much. But yeah, that's just been a new interesting development that I've experienced recently. Ooh, the US Tennis Open final is on too. Well, I guess I'll take it as a compliment that you're here and not watching that. Or maybe you're watching both, which is fine. Without overeating. So I'm assuming that's a continuation of the previous comment. So apparently I'm excellent at giving speeches. Well, thank you. No, it is not inborn. Definitely not inborn. It is very, very much practiced. Not in the sense of practiced as in like I'm fake. This is like a stage persona. It's not the real me, just in the sense like I've worked a lot on myself to get to this point and be this comfortable talking live. Like that's the thing. I used to be very shy and introverted. In fact, I kind of had this motto when I was young, which was, why say anything if you have nothing interesting to say? And of course, with a model like that, you very rarely have anything interesting to say. So, yeah. And that's the thing, like since then, that whole process of falling in love with fear and challenging myself and talking to random strangers and doing embarrassing things in public. And I joined Toastmasters for a while, practiced public speaking, leadership skills. I did improv. So I've done a lot of different things to learn these skills. but it's still me. Like that's the thing, especially when I was in Toastmasters, like it's very structured, the format that they use, and a lot of times when you hear someone give a speech, you can be like, oh, yep, they were trained by Toastmasters. Like that is not me. Every time I gave a speech, I'm always like, all right, this is what the speech is supposed to be. This is the theme, whatever. Like, okay, cool, I'll do that. But what twist can I put on it? What new thing can I try? What can I do differently to try to learn something? So sometimes I'd completely improvise the speech. Sometimes I try like a funny speech, sometimes dramatic speech. Like I'd always try to different things to try to learn new skills because to me, at the end of the day, that's always been the point of this. Like I don't want to become a speaker like every other speaker and just follow the format. It's like, no, I want to be myself. I'm a storyteller. I want to tell a story. Sure, maybe I'm not as perfect. Maybe I kind of stammer every once in a while and trip over myself, but it comes from the heart. I'm sharing authentically rather than just practicing the speech like 100 times and then every single word is perfect, but it just doesn't have that same impact because you're not really speaking from the heart. So that's always been my approach. Like I'm a storyteller, I'm going to share the story. That's always been how I've approached it. Um, Still comments about Amar. Sorry, I didn't block him before. I should have tried that from the very beginning. Sorry about that. Can you spare some money? Are you asking me that or other people? If you're asking me, no, sorry, I cannot spare some money. It's not because I have a YouTube channel and I do lives and I'm rich. Far from it. Maybe one day that would be nice, but at the moment, nope, I definitely cannot spare money. From Illinois, nice. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Been with you since the channel started. Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very few people were here from the beginning. I still remember where from like last year when, I'd post a video and it would get like a couple views, maybe a dozen. I'm pretty sure that to this day, there are some videos that have 0 views. So thank you for being here from the beginning. I appreciate it. So you're a cancer patient too, sorry to hear that. But, I think that anyone who has cancer or goes through something intense like this gets eventually to the point where you kind of become grateful because, things like this teach you so much about yourself, about life, the people around you, and everything. So I'm sorry you have to go through that, but at the same time, like, I'm kind of glad for you because I know you're growing and you're gonna grow so much as a person. So I know, as weird as that sounds, congratulations. Um, oh, okay. So you love my honesty and sarcastic approach. Oh, it's funny because they use the term the dreaded big C. And I don't know, last week, I think, yeah, when I was coming back from the doctors, in fact, and my wife was like, oh, you need new shoes. And she kept bugging me about it. So I'm like, fine, I'll stop downtown, go to a couple of different shoe stores and see if I can find some new shoes. And as I was walking, I walked by Concordia University, which has literally a big C, like a sculpture of a big C at different spots, like outside their campus. And I'm just like, ooh, should I just like ask some random person to like take a picture of me sitting in the big C? So it's like someone with the big C sitting in the big C. I'm just like, that would be hilarious. I didn't end up doing it, but I might at some point in the future because it just sounds too perfect to not do. Uh, Still comments about Amar, sorry. I just find funny at this point. German here. Cool. Well, Canadian here. Oh, from Spain. Nice. Muchas gracias. Sorry, they posted in Spanish, so I thought I'd respond in Spanish. How am I feeling today? Well, we kind of covered that in the beginning, and I kind of covered it recently too. But overall, relatively well. Thank you for asking. Okay, cool. Someone said sometimes I put your videos to sleep. I'm assuming meaning that you play them as you fall asleep. Yeah, so you leave them playing in the background for some reason my videos help me sleep better. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult if you're saying that I'm boring. I don't think that's how you mean it, and I'm definitely taking it as a compliment. I just think that's kind of funny. To be fair, I'm not really my target audience. Like I'm not the type to watch these types of videos, so I wouldn't watch myself. I would probably find myself boring. In fact, when I do listen to my videos, I put it on 2 times speed because otherwise I'm just like, this is so long and boring. Get to the point already. So I could see how that could put someone to sleep, but I'm still taking it as a compliment. So thank you. Have my wife and I discussed children? Yes, we have. It's definitely a plan for the future, but for now, given everything I'm going through, it would be a very, very, very bad time to have children. And given the fact that we're 6,000 kilometers apart, it would also be very difficult. So yeah, definitely plans for the future, but not now. So probably, more like 5 years or more down the line, depending on how things go. That's more like the timeline I'd say we were looking at. Um, oh, someone's proud of me. Well, thank you. Or muchas gracias, since the comment was in Spanish. DM. I wonder. Never mind. Because this could be the initials of someone I know who happens to speak Spanish, but I don't know if they're watching, so I don't want to make any assumptions, but thank you. Yeah, so someone says they think I've developed a lot mentally in the last months. I seem realistic now and at peace. Um, okay, not sure what to make of that comment because it implies that before I was unrealistic, and my approach has not changed. I still choose to believe the things that will maximize my odds of survival, even if that's not a realistic thing to do. I will always choose to believe what is the best for me, what will increase my odds of survival, even if 99.99% of other people, including doctors, believe that I'm foolish for believing that. That's the thing. So it's like maybe I'm slightly less extreme in how I express that, so maybe that's why it seems like I'm more realistic, but my views and beliefs have definitely not changed on that front. I am as stubborn and pig-headed as ever. Sorry, but I'm not gonna die. Just the way it is. Uh, I haven't said it like that to the doctor because the doctor is always kind of a more professional relationship. So it's like, I ask him questions, he answers them, he gives me his opinion, diagnoses, and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm like, what's the point of being like, hey, I appreciate it, but I think you're wrong. I'm going to survive. Like, there's no point in having that. It just seems too confrontational. But that has always been my approach of like, I'm going to take all the information that I can, all the data, and use that to create whatever beliefs make the most sense to me, whether it matches with what the doctors say, what other people believe or not. At this point I really don't care like who you are. No matter how much of an expert you are, I'm always going to choose to believe what makes the most sense to me. So maybe that's why it seems kind of different. Okay, yes, so the comment confirms it. I know exactly who that person is. Muchas gracias. How long do you think you would live? Um, well, the number has always been 100. In my head, for some reason, I'm always like, 100 is a nice round number, um, old enough that you can really live and experience life to the fullest. Not so old that it feels like you're just clinging on to life and suffering at the end of your life. Like I've seen, my great grandmother lived to be 102 years old. My grandmother lived to be 93. So it's like, a lot of people in my family lived to be old. And I don't know, it just 100 always seemed like the right number. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like I've had a couple near-death experiences at this point, and the thing is like because of the beliefs I've developed and chosen to build over the years, that's what I believe. I believe I will make it to 100. So that's kind of part of the reason why I'm like, there's no way this is going to kill me. There's also the fact that my last name is Sauvé, which in French means saved. So it's like, I was literally saved from the moment I was born. So why worry about anything? So it's kind of a mixture of this. Plus, there's the fact that I'm very stubborn, as I mentioned. And, you could say I'm delusional, but it's a choice that I've made. So I'm okay with being delusional. So yeah, to answer your question, 100 years. Uh, Big Dunk McGee. And Big Piccini, wish you. Ah, I just scrolled. No, I can't find the comment. I lost it. No. Did I scroll up or down? That's the problem. Okay, so I read this comment. Sorry, just trying to find my place. Oh, whoops, I seem to have accidentally no, okay, that's, yeah, okay, so, sorry, apparently I accidentally deleted your comment. So my apologies, that was unintentional. So I'm assuming that given those names, those would probably be pets. So I'm assuming dogs, maybe cats, something like that. So thank you very much, I appreciate it. From the Isle of Arran in Scotland. Oh, nice. I would try doing a Scottish accent, but I suck at accents. I'd probably just end up insulting you, so I won't even try. Oh, Salut de Rosemont, nice. So another Quebecer in Montreal. In fact, I'm in the, neighborhood of Rosemont, so nice. All right, so sorry, I'm just reading in French, so I'm not going to read it out loud because I'm assuming most people don't speak French. So I'm just going to kind of read the comment and then answer it in English. All right, so they're kind of asking about my diagnosis initially, how it kind of came about and where the cancer is located, stuff like that. So um, it started in the leg, but it was first diagnosed in the lungs. I started coughing, and that's what caused me to get an X-ray. And as a result of the X-ray, they're like, "Oh, okay, it seems like you have masses in your lungs." They did a biopsy, figured out that it's cancer, and that's how they're able to diagnose it, figure out exactly what type of cancer it is. And then many months later, they discovered, once again, as a result of side effects I was having, that I have two tumors in my head. We did radiotherapy to get rid of those. They're slowly, slowly shrinking. At this point, I don't know exactly how big they are, but it's definitely heading in the right direction. So there doesn't seem to be anything to worry on that front. And then later on, I've always had a, well, always, for the last 7 or 8 years, I would say, I've had a mass in my leg. And back then, when I first, when it first appeared, I was working out very heavily. So I just figured like, oh, I pulled a muscle like that or something. It's tense. Like I'll get to it at some point with a massage therapist or, chiropractor or something like that. And just, it never caused me any issues or any pain. So I just never really got around to it. But recently I'm like, well, there's a mass there, given the fact that I have cancers in other parts of my body. Maybe this could be, also this. So, we did an X-ray of that too, and that turns out that it was the original source of the cancer. So it started in the thigh, traveled to the lungs, then traveled to the brain, and hopefully nowhere else. But, you can never know for sure because unfortunately, which always seems weird to me, it's not like you can do a full body scan and be like, oh, there's cancer there. Cool, let's treat that. It's, oh, you're having symptoms. Let's do a scan. Oh, yep, you have cancer there. Cool. I don't know why they can't do a full body CT scan. It doesn't make sense to me. I've asked about it. Apparently, that's just not how it works. But yeah, so technically, right now, I have cancer in my lungs, a crap ton of tumors, and some in my head that are currently shrinking. So that's pretty much, taken care of. And the one in my thigh, which is being treated same way as in my lungs with immunotherapy. So hopefully that answers your question. And hopefully you also speak English since I, gave my answer in English, even though your comment was in French. It's the vaccine. I don't know what vaccine is. Sounds like some sort of cream that you put when you hurt yourself. I don't know, vaccine. I don't know. I don't know what vaccine is, sorry. Uh, oh, shout out from Jerry Park. Nice. I used to live literally like a block away from Jerry Park. Duck Pond, yes, nice. I definitely remember the ducks. That was nice. I used to go running there when I used to live there. It was a very nice neighborhood. I enjoyed it. Thanks for answering. You're very welcome. I don't remember what I answered, but you're welcome. Apparently, I'm so nice. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Apparently, they love the way I address comments, so thank you all. I guess I'll keep going that way. Even the comments and questions that aren't pleasant. Oh, I mean, aside from that Amar guy that was just spamming and disturbing everyone, I most comments were super nice. And it's like, even when they're not nice, like I said, like I try to respect other people's opinions. So it's like, unless you're like directly confrontational and being rude, I'm going to be nice in the way I respond to it most of the time. Sometimes, if there's very like rude comments, like it's been very rare that I've had some so far, not in lives, but on videos. And it's like when someone's like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. You have terminal cancer. You're going to die. Accept it. I've been known to kind of, destroy that person or be very sarcastic. And, it's maybe not the best approach, but every once in a while it feels good. So, like 99.99% of the time, I'm very, very nice. So, thank you. Let's see. Thank you. I appreciate your best wishes. It means a lot to me. And yeah, you can block someone while I'm live. Yes, I did discover that, thankfully, because I don't think he would have stopped, honestly. From Latvia, nice. Welcome. Wow, that's quite far away. I wonder what time it is over there. Probably not 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. like it is here. Love and best wishes. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's funny, every once in a while I still see a comment from Amara that's been hidden because I blocked him. And I'm just like, can he still comment, but it's just the comment is blocked? Or have I just not gotten to the point where it's like when I blocked him and his comments stopped appearing? I don't know, but wow, he left a lot of comments. uh, oh, that's nice. Apparently my wife loves you very much. Te amo mucho, mi amor. Have I written a story at all? I'm a very good storyteller. Well, thank you very much, first of all. And yes, I've written a lot of different types of stories and books. I've written hundreds and hundreds of erotic short stories back in the day when I was younger, just because sex sells and I wanted to practice the craft of being a writer. I haven't written that type of story in a very long time. I did write a couple of short stories that weren't erotica, and I've also written seven books, uh, science fiction, like young adult fantasy books, stuff like that. And I say seven, I hesitated because there are six that are published and one that is written but unpublished. I wrote it when I was traveling 2 years ago, and given everything that's happened, I just haven't had time to go back to it and reread it and edit and proofread and have a cover designed and published it. Like, that's something I'm going to have to do in the future. And I still have multiple books left in the series to finish it. So that's definitely a plan in the future. But for now, writing is definitely not a focus and not something I've done in a couple of years at this point. But definitely something I'm going to get back to. And I am going to write a nonfiction book about everything that I'm currently going through once it's done. It's just now I'm living it, so it seemed kind of pointless to start writing it now. So let's just wait till it's done. Yep, a G as a gangster. I used to be wannabe gangster when I was young. Yep. uh, can you see a picture of my wife? Unfortunately, not yet. Simply because she's a much more private person than me. And I've asked, like, hey, would it be okay if I share my wedding pictures? And because she's more private, she's like, well, I prefer you don't. However, I'll make a deal with you. When you get to 1 million subscribers, you can publish our wedding pictures. So I guess just share my videos and bug people until we get 1 million subscribers, and then I'll be able to post our wedding videos. Or sorry, pictures. As you can tell, like I'm a very open person, but my wife is much more private, and I want to respect that. So I would never want to do anything that would make her uncomfortable. So we did make a deal. So once we hit 1 million, then you'll be able to see her. But before then, obviously, well, I'm assuming that we'll get to live together before I get to the 1 million subscriber point. It'd be cool if it happened super quickly, but I'm not really expecting that. Let's be realistic. So, it's possible you'll see her at some point in the background of the video. Maybe she'll allow me to introduce her. I don't know. I don't want to have any expectations or put any pressure on her. But, at some point you will see her. That should not be an issue. And yes, she is real. I know that some people doubt it, but That's okay. She is very much real. Man, I'd have to be completely insane to like make up a wife and then talk about her so much and like she doesn't even exist. Wow. Kind of makes me wish that, I'd make up something like that. Like I don't want to do that. The whole point is to be authentic and share the true story and what I'm going through. But from like a fiction storytelling perspective, that would be kind of cool. What do you do to keep your mind occupied during the day besides walking, reading, TV, Lego? Haven't done Legos in a while. Last time I would say would probably be last year when I was living with my sister and I played with my niece. So not exactly something that I do regularly, but I have been known to do it in the past. Painting, I I have like that artistic skill that I could develop. I was, pretty good at drawing when I was young. I've done a few paintings. Like I could do that, and I feel like I would be relatively good at it if I practice. It's just never been a passion of mine. My true passion has always been writing and storytelling and creating characters and interesting stories and stuff like that. So that has always been how I've like channeled my artistic interests, I guess. So anyway, to answer your questions, um, for a long time, most of what I would do would be watch TV, just because, especially the last 4 months, when it's like, when can't you have trouble breathing, you literally get winded just like walking to the kitchen, and you can't really do any physical activities. You can't go for walks. You're coughing a lot. All you can really do is just sleep, get up, force yourself to eat, watch a lot of TV, and go back to sleep. So there was a lot of TV watching involved. But yeah, now like that I'm able to walk again, definitely enjoying the walks. Ironically enough, I don't really read that much. I haven't read like I used to read a lot. Like I've read like easily over 1,000 books in my life. I used to read a lot. Like I remember once I kept track, and during a year I read over 100 books. So it's like, I love storytelling, reading, watching movies, TV series, books, like any kind of storytelling. I've always enjoyed it. So that's been a big part of my life. But for some reason, reading for the last couple of years, pretty much ever since I started traveling, it's just not really something that I've done a lot of. Every once in a while, yeah, but not really that much. So yeah, a lot of it would be, I mean, I do spend a lot of time walking, like a good hour, hour and a half at least per day, sometimes more if it's a nicer day and I want to chill a bit outside. And aside from that, I just kind of try to relax and enjoy life as much as I can. The last couple months have been more intense, but as it's slowly getting better, I'm able to start hanging out with friends a bit. It's still kind of not ideal because it does make me cough more when I'm out, but it's definitely nice to be able to start reconnecting with other people. You're very welcome for pronouncing your name. Wow, okay, so I'm really behind in comments if we're just getting to that now because it feels like it's been a while since I explained how to pronounce my name. Have I ever considered painting? Well, we just covered that, so I'd be a great artist. I'm not sure how you know that, but thank you. I'll take it as a compliment. And that's the thing, like at this point, um, I think that's why I don't really feel the need to write, because it's like I'm living my story. I don't need to create other characters and adventures and worlds and things like that to express that. It's like I'm literally expressing it by living it. And recording these videos is my way, my form of storytelling. So it's like I don't feel the need to really express myself through writing or through painting or drawing or anything else like that. It's just like for now at the moment this is my form of art, if you will, even though I'm not necessarily always artful in the way I express myself. Sometimes I do swear, but it's just it's all part of art. That's the beauty of art. It's interpretive and apparently full of stuttering. It's interpretive, so you can do pretty much whatever you want, and no one can say it's not art because art is so subjective at this point that it can literally be anything. If you're feeling well enough, would you travel to the UK? Sure. I mean, at this point, anywhere isn't really an option because I need to like be here every 3 weeks for my treatments, and in between, every once in a while I have other meetings with other doctors and stuff like that. So right now, traveling isn't an option. But yeah, I mean, if it was an option, 100% I'd be up to it. I mean, not just the UK, pretty much any country. It's like, hey, you want to invite me to your house? Cool, let's go. Okay. That might be weird going without my wife at this point, but you get the point. Like, I love to travel. I love to see new places, experience new things. So yes, 100% I'd be up for it. Yep, same for, I'm guessing that's what I was saying before, like when it's right next door, like you just take it for granted and never do it. So there's like same for people in the UK, like most people in the UK haven't visited Ireland, even though it's super close. So yeah. Hobbies. What is yours? I paint. Oh, nice. Sorry, just finishing the comment. Been on for 2 days. Nice. That's the thing. It's like I'm very familiar with painting because my dad is an artist. He's done like hundreds and hundreds of painting, like probably at least over 100 sculptures, a bunch of drawings too. So it's like I'm very familiar with that. It's just I've never really been that drawn to it. Ha, drawing. I made a joke without realizing it. Yay for me! So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Hobbies for me, like when it comes to art or creative expression, it's always been writing or storytelling, whether it's written form or verbal form, like I'm doing with my videos, or giving speeches, or being on podcasts, or whatever. It's like storytelling has always been my form of art. Um, my face is tan now and look healthy. Proud of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Reason for that is twofold. When I went to visit my dad a couple weeks ago at this point, we went to the beach and I got a sunburn. So as a result of that, I'm more tanned. Plus, now that well, it's probably been a month at this point that I started walking regularly. Obviously, I'm getting more sun, which is definitely helping me not be super pale and look like I'm sick all the time. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Great to see you too. What's my favorite food to eat? Difficult to say at this point since I don't necessarily enjoy eating. Like I can enjoy the process of eating, but it's not like I used to love eating. So it's like when it comes to food, if you were talking about like a specific recipe, throughout my life I've loved shepherd's pie. I've eaten it a crap ton, vegetarian obviously. Potato salad just because it's easy to do, and I've done it so much that I've created a version that I really like, that I enjoy. So I guess those would be the two. But I just enjoy fruits in general, especially watermelons when they're super ripe and like you bite into it and it just like melts in your mouth, or really ripe mangoes, or any type of fruit really. Like I just, especially berries, I love berries, so like blueberries and raspberries, blackberries, things like that. So just fruit in general, and also a lot of vegetables that are technically fruit, but we consider vegetables, such as cucumbers and peppers. Like I literally, like I've eaten so many bell peppers in my life. I used to, back when I was living, in fact, near Jerry Park, someone brought that up before, there was Marché Jean Talon nearby, which is a farmer's market. And I would go there, and when it was like the season, I would literally buy like an entire box with like, I don't know, 50 peppers in it, and just eat like 5, 6 peppers a day. And like I pretty much, like I usually eat it with a knife just because it's easier because of the seeds, but it's like I've definitely in the past like just like eaten it like an apple. I just love peppers. They're like juicy, like red peppers with like thick flesh, and it's like when they're in season, ah, so good. So yeah, I just really like fruits and vegetables a lot. Regarding fuel, there we go. Uh, it's a meal you can buy online, which has every single component. Okay, so basically like pre-made meals. Okay, okay, makes sense. The thing is, like, that is something that I consider, and I've tried like protein bars and protein shakes and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, okay, when I had zero appetite and I was throwing up, and it's like it could help, but it's just not enjoyable. And at this point, now that my appetite is starting to come back and I'm starting to eat relatively normally, it's just like I want to try to cultivate that and get back to a point where I can actually enjoy cooking. I can enjoy eating because like it is such a big part of life. And it's like when you're able to enjoy your food, life just seems like it's more fun. So even though yes, that could be an option, it's something that I'm kind of trying to avoid right now. But yeah, it's definitely something that might be useful. Well, hopefully not. And I mean that just because I hope I don't go back to the point where it's like I have trouble eating and I'm throwing up again and it just like I have to force myself to eat. I hope it doesn't go back to that. But you know, if it does, yeah, it's definitely something I would consider. Why don't I get a bathroom scale? Because I'm lazy. I have no legitimate logical reason. Plus, like I know that every 3 weeks when I go for my appointment, they're gonna weigh me. So I know I always have that like 3 week benchmark of every 3 weeks I see like my gains or my losses. So it's like I'm able to keep track of everything. Like I have a booklet where they write down my weight and other stats every time I go to the hospital. So I'm able to kind of keep track with that. And yeah, I mean I could weigh myself more frequently. It just doesn't really seem necessary. I guess I'm just lazy. I don't know. I don't have a good excuse. Yeah, so someone said they're also introverted but have to talk a lot for their job and previous jobs. That's definitely one good way to, I don't want to say get over it because there's nothing wrong with being introverted. And even though like, you know, I've taught myself to be very comfortable and to enjoy speaking and, you know, performing, giving speeches, recording videos, things like that, I still consider myself an introvert because that's usually the definition people use to describe introverts and extroverts. It's like an extrovert is someone who's like recharges their batteries, who gets energy from being around other people, whereas an introvert needs to be alone to recharge their battery. So I always kind of need that peace and quiet. I love being in nature by myself, just, you know, feeling the grass and the sun and the wind. And it's just, yeah. So it's like I still technically consider myself an introvert, even though to be realistic, most people are ambiverts, which is like, you know, introvert, extrovert is kind of like a scale, a sliding scale, and you might be closer to introvert than you are extrovert, but you're not necessarily a full-blown introvert or full-blown extrovert. You're usually somewhere in between. So it's kind of like I probably started off more introverted, but I kind of slid or taught myself to slide more towards extroverted, but I still kind of need that time alone to be able to recharge. Well, thank you. Someone says my lives are terrific. I appreciate that. Better terrific than terrible, right? You always admire people who can speak and speak. When you try to speak to do the same thing, you get bored of the sound of my own voice. Oh, I get bored too. I just keep talking anyway. And then you lose interest and want to give up. That's better because, especially back when I was in Toastmasters, like I created a mastermind with a few different people and we practiced different stuff. And for me, like, um, even though I was introverted, I was always able, because I'm a very creative person, I was always able to come up with something to say. So it's like, if you put me on the spot, I can think of something to say. I'm never going to freeze. That's never been an issue for me. I've just never been comfortable. It took a lot. It took a long time for me to get to the point where I was comfortable being in front of an audience, giving a speech, performing. But because I'm very creative, I've never had an issue with thinking of something to say. Might not always be something very smart, but always think of something to say. So at least you have that ability to speak, even if you bore yourself. And yeah, I completely understand what you mean by that. But at least like you're not frozen because I've had people and I've seen that. To me, it just seems like impossible. It's like literally say anything. It doesn't matter what you say. You can go up to a random person and start a conversation by saying cucumber. They'll be like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. How are you doing?" Like it doesn't matter. You can literally say anything in any situation and just think of something to say after. But some people just like freeze and they like get stuck and they can't get past that. So even if, you know, some people like us can speak a lot and sometimes end up boring ourselves. I can totally understand that. At least, we're lucky in the sense that we have that ability to come up with something to say. Sorry, this might take me a little longer to read because it's in Spanish, so give me a second. Wow, okay. I was not expecting a Spanish comment from someone in Hamburg, Germany. I'm assuming it's Hamburg because they were saying in Spanish, so I'm assuming Hamburgo would be Hamburg, Germany. But yes, she was there. I'm assuming she because their name is Eva, but they say they want to see my wife. I will do my best, but I was always, I'm always going to put my wife's preferences first. So hopefully one day you'll get to see her. But, I'll always do whatever's best for her before anyone else. So hopefully you'll get to see her one day. That would definitely be nice. I know I've spoken about her a lot. Well, thank you. They said I told you you'll live to be 80. Your wife will get sick of you. Don't worry, she's already sick of me. But let me just correct you, 100, not 80. But I appreciate the thought. Thank you. Um, when I fully recover, am I going to maintain my new attitude of putting myself first and not worrying about what? Sorry, I just need to scroll up. About other people's opinion, etc. Is that permanent part? Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I've developed previous to this. It's just going through this process has made it much more stronger in me because now it's literally like my life hangs in the balance. I can't afford to put other people first. But yes, 100%. Like it's that same principle of when you're on a plane, they're like, you need to put your own oxygen mask on before putting it on the child accompanying you. It's like you can't help other people unless you help yourself first. So you must always put yourself first. Some people take that to the extreme and become selfish and put themselves first at the expense of other people. But, I don't think it'll ever get to that point. So yes, that's definitely part of who I am, and that's never going to go away. Someone's like, I loved your prostitute stories. Reason being you were looking for a deeper personal connection. It was not for you. Okay. So for those of you who have no idea what this person is talking about, this channel used to be about me traveling. So 2 years ago when I was traveling, I made videos about my adventures and experiences and everything. And the point was to travel and experience different things and become the version of myself that I was meant to become and the version of myself that my, future wife deserved to be with. And at some point, I ended up in Colombia where prostitution is legal. And I'm like, I'll give it a shot. The point is to have adventures, to experience new things. And I tried it and I'm just like, yeah, it's awkward. There isn't that connection. To them, it's just like their job and it's really weird. So it's like, I don't regret doing it. It was an experience. I learned something from it. But yeah, it was a very awkward thing. And yeah, I would never, obviously I would never do it again because I'm married, but even if I wasn't, I wouldn't. It just wasn't for me. But glad it was entertaining. uh, and about the sleeping thing I said, I meant it as a compliment. The way you talk is yeah, okay. No, don't worry, I didn't take it as an insult whatsoever. I figured that's what you meant. So apparently the way I talk is very calming and very optimistic and reduces stress. So thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. Someone else listen to me while I go and sleep. Nice. I guess there's one new skill I can add to my quiver now. One new bow. So I can either motivate people, entertain people, or put them to sleep. Cool. I wonder if I can do all three at once. Ooh, interesting. Challenge accepted. uh, so apparently I'm definitely not boring. That, that depends. I'm sure some people find me boring. I find myself boring when I watch my videos. Actually, that's not true. I used to find myself boring, but, and I don't mean this like to boast, it's just I've trained myself to become, at least what I like to believe, to be a good storyteller. and I can actually be entertained while I'm watching my videos. Not at normal speed, at 2 times speed, because otherwise I'm just like, you're talking so slowly, speak faster. But aside from that, yeah, it's actually not so bad. But I'm sure there are people that find me boring. Michigander. I Okay, I'm assuming Michigander is someone who lives in Michigan. I did not know that. I just learned something, so thank you. Would my wife be willing to possibly join me on a live Zoom so we can meet her in the wonderful world of YouTube? She sounds amazing. She definitely is amazing. And maybe one day it's really not up to me, it's up to her to decide. Plus, we're not living together, so at the moment that is not an option. But hopefully one day in the future, I would definitely enjoy it. But as I said, it's her decision. I always want to respect her decision, her privacy. So I can't make any promises, but I agree that it would definitely be fun. Hello. Someone said hi. True. Someone else responding, they're like, my wife doesn't speak English, it would be very difficult for her. True, it would be difficult, but I mean, I can still, present her and she can speak and I can translate. So, I mean, if she's up to it, we can definitely find a way to make it work. We'll see. At the moment, it's not an option, but maybe in the future. Or maybe she can have her own channel, in Spanish on whatever topic she wants to do. And, one day we can do live together. I don't know. I'm just saying random stuff. From Greece. Nice. Cool. Uh, Someone said they love to see us together having coffee. And, she means me and my wife. Seems She seems like such a lovely wife. Yes, she definitely is. I'm so lucky to have her. Uh, why is this comment highlighted? Huh, not quite sure what it is, but it seems like I got to the end of the comments. So if you have a few last minute comments that you want to ask, now would be the time because I'm looking at the time and it's been an hour 42. I thought today would be a short video simply because of the way I was feeling this morning and when I started the video, but this live definitely helped cheer me up and give me more energy and pep. So I'm definitely glad and I don't regret it. It didn't feel like it was long. Hopefully it wasn't long to the people watching. So if you have a few last second questions, now would be the time. If not, I'm going to end things here. And, while you ask your last few questions, if you have them, I just want to say once again, thank you to everyone who attended live, to everyone who watches my videos, who likes, who comments, who shares, who subscribed, who donates, who, in any way, shape, or form interacts with me or my content. I really, really appreciate it. I know that sometimes, especially in the last few months, I've been a little more, not necessarily negative, but it's just there's been a lot of difficult things that happened lately. So my videos aren't necessarily as uplifting and motivating as they used to be. But now it's slowly going back to normal, so that should take care of itself. But all that to say, I just want to say that I appreciate each and every one of you. As I've mentioned before, I think of you as my YouTube family, and I hope that will always remain. And yeah, just thank you for everything. Let me just check if there's, nope, no more comments. So we're going to end this here. Thank you once again for being here. And as I mentioned in the beginning, if you weren't able to attend live and you're watching the replay and you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. 3 days from now, I'm going to come back, read all the comments, and respond to them. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. And now I need to remember how to end this.